Welcome back. Our guest today was... You popped up here again. You do this every few weeks. Our guest today was a star-on baller of the 1980s and early to mid-1990s, first with Sydney, then Collingwood and Carlton. He was part of the memorable but short-lived Jeffrey Edelston days in Sydney, filled with big-name recruits, tight shorts and pink helicopters. He was still there when they were struggling. But this guy's performance seldom varied. He was a hard worker around the packs, a real ball magnet and dangerous near goals in 170 games over nearly 10 years with the Swans, winning a best and fairest, then adding another 50-odd at his final 2 football homes. Now, 20 years later, his son Tom's having a great year and really cementing his place as one of the leaders of the Sydney midfield. He's still involved in the game. He's a budding writer and a former alternative radio host. Barry Mitchell, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Rohan.
That was a good build-up. You better make it worth their while.
I feel pretty good.
Well, it's a good story. What are you up to these days?
Well, as you said, I've been actually working with the Swans as well for the last 5 years, doing a bit of opposition analysis, which is a difficult word as well.
It is.
And a bit of recruiting, so that's been a bit of a change for me, but good. I still enjoy the game, not all parts of the game. I think everyone sort of probably thinks the same, but I think the game's been better this year. I'm enjoying the weather getting a bit better too, the last week or so.
We all are.
Actually, as you said, you're involved in a bit of recruiting for the Swans.
Yeah.
Can you put your hand up? Because they've picked up some excellent players lower in the draft. Is there one that you spotted early?
Well, no, mainly I'm the pro scout, so I look at the AFL listed guys. So Kinnear Beats and his team will pick up the kids, which have, Papley's been a good pickup. Obviously, Mills and Heaney are very good players, but they're more towards the top. I think the club's done well in the past with their trading as well. There's a lot of players from other clubs who have been very successful at the club. Of course, Tom was a father-son, so that was
made one.
Probably a good pickup for them, maybe. So I think they've been a very strong club for a long time, and they've made some good decisions.
Well, let's go back to your playing days. We've got a bit of footage here to show to pump your tyres up a bit more, but people who are too young to remember, this guy is a seriously good footballer. That whole era with you started with the Swans once they were up in Sydney, but it was a bit of a struggle, wasn't it? Your first season was 84.
84, yeah. Well, I was. They moved up in 83, and I was actually still in the thirds in 83.
It was 82.
82, there you go. 82. So I used to play in the thirds in 83, and I started in the thirds in 84, and then I played in the seconds and then the firsts. So I actually hadn't really met the guys before I played my first game, which was quite interesting.
Yeah. What are they going, mate? Yeah.
Well, having a big mouth, it didn't worry me that they didn't know me. But look, the move was a big move, and in the end, it was great to live up there for 8 or 9 years, whatever it was. A different life in those days in Sydney in that, well, not that it's that much different. We were very much, no one knew much about us. So there were no phone cameras or any of that sort of stuff at that time. But we had a good time up there, and we were pretty successful. So looking back, it was a different sort of a career, but in some ways it was very good.
I just wanted to ask you about we got a taste of the Edelston pink helicopter Leanne thing. What was it like for you guys as players? Was it a bit surreal?
Well, it was a little bit a bit of hype, really. Jeff was around, but we didn't really see much of him, or Leanne for that matter.
Or his money in the end.
Well, I don't know it was his money either. I think that was the other fact. I think everyone's still looking for it. A few of his past wives, everyone's got the hand out at the moment.
His money's like his wife's boobs, not real.
Fair enough. But it was an exciting time as well, apart from that hype, in that South had been a struggling club for years, sort of round about, I think, the finals, but not quite good enough to get in. And then the influx of a lot of star players turned around pretty quick. So 86, I think we finished, and 87 we finished second, which was a big jump up, and it was great to play with some great players.
I'd love to take you back to 87. You didn't win the flag, but for 3 weeks you were the best team almost had ever played.
Yeah.
100-point wins over West Coast, Essendon and Richmond. And you were brilliant. I've actually got the numbers. 38, 35, 28 touches, 3 goals, 2 goals.
Look, I think you're a bit short on some of those, but that's okay. Only joking.
If I was short...
no, that's all right.
No, I'm saying,
that's all right.
If I was short, then you've broken all records, because they were almost records.
Goals. I thought you meant me. Sorry. No, you're right.
Your numbers were brilliant.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What was it like in those 3 weeks? It was football in the perfect vacuum almost.
It was. I've seen that on TV, those Tuesdays, the flashbacks,
Yeah,
and we all get on the text to each other and say, you burnt me, you should have handballed to me, etc. Which is good fun. But actually, when you're in that state, as you say, it was surreal. Looking back, it's an unbelievable period of time. But at the time, we were just playing and kicking a lot of goals and trying to keep Tommy happy. I think the third week we only kicked 29, so
You
seriously,
198 points.
He was a little bit disappointed.
Well, I'm an Essendon supporter, and they were in the middle of those canings. And the thing that always sticks with anyone who watched that game is, remember after every Sydney goal, they'd play that "Go Mighty Swans" and sort of seared on your subconscious.
I was going to say, you were the dominant teams, and one of the dominant teams in the 86, 87 with Carlton and Hawthorn. Do you feel you could have won a final and perhaps even deserved to win a flag?
Well, the thing then was we didn't get home finals, and we were probably a very good side on the smaller ground. The midfield, whilst very classy, was probably a touch one-paced.
Yeah.
So up there we were very good. The bigger grounds probably found us out a little bit, and we were a little bit short in our list size. We probably went, don't quote me, about 26.
Yeah.
We had a few out in the finals that were important. I think the second year Kappa didn't play. Dennis Carroll missed all the finals both years. He's a very good player, obviously. So this didn't quite go our way, and maybe we didn't get quite the credit we deserve for that period.
That first year, 86, I remember you lost the qualifying final to Carlton, but not by a lot, only by a few goals. And then there was that semi-final against Fitzroy.
Yeah.
And Fitzroy would just bless that final series. I think it was Bernie Harris kick one that bounced through, and you guys went under by a kick. I mean, so you could easily have got to preliminary final.
And that's right. And I think on the day, I was only young. I was probably 21 at that time. But on the day, again, it happens pretty quick. I also played in the Geelong Carlton final at VFL Park when Bairstow and I think Hocking and Couch, they're all out.
Yeah.
And we lost.
Yeah.
So on the day, you can be the dominant team, but it gets to the finals and you've got to put it on. And look, we were a bit stiff the first year, and the second year we were miles away.
Just on that quickly, I'd forgotten you'd played in that 94 final, and Carlton were top of the ladder and went out in straight sets. 95, of course, only lost 2 games to the year, but you couldn't get a Guernsey, or were you injured?
Well, 95, I'm actually 0 from 6 from finals, if I really want to put myself in, after wrapping myself up before.
You'll win your next one.
That's right, I'm in the lawn bowls. So, what was the question?
Yeah. Why couldn't you get a game in 95?
No, 94 had a pretty good year after Collingwood was a disappointing year.
Yeah.
And then I hurt my patella tendon in 95, and I soldiered on till about just after halfway. And then I had a couple of cortisone injections in it, which got me through. But then when the patella tendon flares up, you can't really run. So I tried to keep going. I had an operation on it, and then I missed probably 12 months, and then I hurt my other knee, and that was I limped out, so to speak.
What happened at the end of 92, Barry, in terms of coming to Melbourne, joining the Pies? It was flagged at the time you were going to join Carlton that year, and then Pies got in the way and through the pre-season draft.
At that time, Sydney were really on the skids. We'd lost a lot of good players. Healy had done his wrist, he'd retired. Williams had moved on. Tui and Coleman, I think, went to the Bulldogs. So some very good players had left or retired, and we hadn't replenished. We didn't have the kids coming through. I could sort of see the writing on the wall. I was homesick a bit, and look, in some ways I regret leaving, in some ways I don't, because the next couple of years they were bottom. I don't know if that time how I would have dealt with that, but that's life. And look, from there I had some great years. Collingwood was a challenge. Didn't quite work out for me. But I had 3 great years at Carlton, picked up my superannuation, and it was all good.
Just on that, St Kilda were very keen to get you and did something pretty stupid. The story was that they had said to Sydney, here are 8 players that are off limits. You can choose anybody else. The word got out, and after 92, St Kilda sort of plummeted because if you weren't one of those 8 players, you weren't too impressed that you were considered shoppable. Did you have dealings with St Kilda?
I had a funny one with St Kilda, which no, I don't think anyone's still there, but they actually took me down to the club talking about the Lin Yong walking through the Holden Centre the other week, and they actually took me up to the disco, and put the smoke and stuff on, and I thought I'm home.
Did they bring Plugger out to knock you down the stairs?
No, Plugger wasn't there, or any of the boys from those days, Greg Burns or Jeff Cunningham, who were just cult heroes of the day. But that was quite funny. I remember I wasn't sure whether to go to Sydney or not, as I just started, but I'm glad I did. And it was funny being in the throes of being wanted, and then at the end of your career, you're not wanted. And they're two totally different, obviously, extremes. That's what happens in your career, and the good and the bad are all part of your footy life.
Well, Tom's in the good, isn't he?
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, just on Tom, a couple of seasons finding his feet in football, he has gone to a new level this year, kicks goals, he seems stronger. His run with play is fantastic, but when he's independent of a task, he's just about the best possession winner in the competition.
He has got a knack of getting
Real
the ball.
knack.
I suppose I did in some ways as well. I think the running with players has been good for him. I think it gives him a focus to work towards. And most of the time he's done the job pretty well. So I think that's good. I think he's learnt a lot, obviously being a very good junior player. You go to a very good club and you're made to earn your stripes. And he's, it's been well documented, probably over documented how hard he's had to work, but he's also had some injury along the way. He didn't play his first year. His second year he played 15 games. He got injured his third year. There's been circumstances, but he certainly needed to add some things to his game, and I think that he's done those. I mean, he's still got a way to go with anything as a 22, 23-year-old. But I think the qualities of him are starting to come through.
We've got to ask the obvious one here. A lot of speculation about his future. Obviously, the Swans hope he re-signs, but we keep hearing about clubs in Melbourne. As we speak, where's he at?
Well, he obviously hasn't signed us yet. He's told me to shut up and stay out of it, Dad, which is probably good.
Yeah.
So they're working through it, and I think, as we all know, with salary caps, and obviously it's well documented again that they've recruited some big players in, and I think they're working towards where it needs to get to. But again, that's up to him. He's 23 now, and the club who are very successful. So you'd like to see that they could stay together, and he could have.
You'd like that. I mean, your dad, he's living in Sydney. It'd be nice to have him back home.
Well, the only other thing I'd like is the Sydney games, a couple of flights here and there. It costs me a little bit to go up there.
Throw that in.
It sounds like the squeeze is truly on, though, isn't it, Barry? As you alluded to, with Tippett and Buddy out there. And
well, I think if you see a lot of the players throughout you're talking about Presty before, and there's O'Meara, and there's interstate players are probably a little bit more of interest. And I think clubs, it's said a lot, that the club's strength to hold you is the main thing. So the environment of the club, as well as the money, is what should hold you at a club. Yeah. I know he's happy with his teammates and the way things are going. So again, in the end, it's going to be his decision and his management decision going forward as to what he wants to do. Just
very quickly, Barry, you were in this situation and you're still involved in footy. Brisbane are trying to recruit players because they're in a world of hurt. Is it a problem being an unattractive destination? Like Tom, would he consider going to a Brisbane because they're in a world of hurt? Can Brisbane get players?
I think that's a fair point. I know what an unattractive proposition is, having been one my whole life. But I think it is a difficulty, and I think it's a fact what they're saying, that when you do look to go somewhere, obviously there's monetary, and that's part of it, but you look at the future and you look at the state of the club, whether that be Brisbane or anybody. And I don't think it helps them attract players. Obviously, they've probably got to go back to the draft. Well, that's where the quality players are. They've tried to pick some established players up. Some of them have worked, and you could argue that some haven't played to their potential. But I don't think that can completely rest on the coach. I think some of the players probably have to take some responsibility for their performance, or that they do. And it's pretty easy to blame Leppich, but obviously as a club, I think they've got a lot of work to do.
How do you look back on your time at Carlton as an assistant there? Like, did you interview for the senior role?
Yeah, I've been through a bit.
Days? Yeah, you have.
John, yes, that's right.
With Dennis under pressure at the time.
Yeah. Well, he was under pressure for sure. I mean, that was a club at that time. It probably reflects Brisbane now. Yeah. It was on its knees. We'd bottomed out in terms of players. We'd lost draft picks. And it was a very tumultuous time. Changing the coach doesn't always fix everything. It might for a week, it might for 2. Only they would know if Justin's the right person or anyone's the right person. But that was another interesting period in my footy life.
Yep.
Speaking of which, just quickly to wrap up, because we've got to leave it there, but your writing.
Yes.
It's something we don't sort of associate with former footballers, but you're very keen to write and write professionally. I've read a bit of your stuff. It's pretty good. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, it's probably a little bit insider view,
Yeah.
I suppose. One thing being inside, I've been inside the AFL system for 15, or how many years is it now? No, 33 years.
Yeah.
33 years.
Where did 15 come from?
I don't know where that came from. I'm not good with numbers. Is you want to know what's going on inside there, and sometimes there's actually nothing special going on inside there, but because you can't see it, you want to know what's going on. But I can write from what happened inside, and I like to look at how people think. And an example, which I actually is a bit of a steal from Justin Madden, is that point in time when you got to go back with the flight of the ball and you've got a choice to make. So you know you've got a choice, and everybody knows you've got a choice, but you actually haven't got a choice. So one's saying don't go for it, and one's saying you have to go for it. So in the end, I would say something like, do you think I'm stupid? I'm not going for that. But it's sort of my type of humour. It might be good, it might not, but I like doing it.
Well, there's a market for a bit of intelligent thought in football, believe it or not. We're hoping we can cash in on it. We hope you can cash in on it as well.
Thanks, Rohan.
Thanks for joining us. Been a wonderful chat, and good luck to you and Tom, whatever the future holds. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much, guys.
All right. You're going too, so good luck to you in Candy, and hopefully we won't be
Candy?
saying-
What? Candy's like the third city. How about
you mentioned it, Colombo.
Colombo?
Well, I'm
Yeah,
just
Colombo there as well.
It's
I'm
Gaul.
Goal as well.
That
Yep,
seems
there's
to
3
suit.
cities.
I'm hoping we don't get such a run of injuries that I see Jay Perrick coming on as first change.
I was going
Bowl
to
a few
say,
leggies.
is Candy like sunshine? Like, sounds great, but mightn't be that great a sport.
That's what they say. And
We'll
when
see.
Sorry, sunshine.
when you order the curry, don't order the Daniel.
All right. Bit of decorum,
That's enough.
thanks.
So I had to go straight into women's football. So now you look at it, there's youth girls teams everywhere, and everybody, like my local team told me that they're getting women's girls team next year. So it's just growing. It's just growing so quick, and it's exciting, I think, for women's football.